I will now call this budget workshop meeting to order. Discuss the 2021-2022 budget. Presenter, Mr. Leopold.
All right, I went to a workshop on Thursday, just over the template, and the guy who sets up the template was there, the guy Omar. If you're in my world, you know exactly who Omar is. But he said he has another template coming out pretty soon to correct a few mistakes. So he said this should be close, he said, but this may not be exact. So if you go to the next slide. The revenues, as you see, the total revenues are going up $30,430 if you look up the general fund revenues from here to here. From this is last year's, this is next year's estimated. Now, one way that they went up was, you can see local property taxes. This is with the tax rate going down. This is going from figuring at 0.97 to 0.9315. The property taxes are still looking to go up. Now, the positive thing about this, you say, oh man, this is all negative, but the positive thing is right here, because we were a formula transition grant. This holds true, and our property values do go up. We lose out on the formula transition grant. Well, okay, what's that? What that is in 2024, that's going to go away. So if we would still have that money in our budget and we'd be counting on that money in 2024, 2025, we would have to account for that money in other ways. And so would be cutting in some certain places. So that is a positive thing. This right here, our on behalf, is our flow-throughs. They're going to flow through. They're going to be whatever we pay for on behalf is the expenses that we're going to have. They're going to get back in revenue. Now, what's happening is our foundation payments, depending on where because these are preliminary numbers for the CAD, and so where they go, we're going to, the CAD came in at $100 million increase from Austin County and Colorado County combined. And if it's not going to be $100,000, which it's probably going to go down some, what's going to happen is you'll see this number go down, but this number go up. As long as we go with what's called the MCR, the maximum compressed rate, we're going to get our state funds are going to match to keep up with to maintain our rate. Now, our budget's coming really close, and so, this is one place that we do like to go. This is our SHARS money. This is one place we like to go for the additional bus or any other big payment that we may see. So I did need to increase that a little bit. So that's going to be somewhere that, we may have to find another place, later on, depending on what our SHARS numbers do. And it's something that we kind of work on, throughout the year. Sarah and I worked with that throughout the year. Our debt service, the local property taxes for debt service are gonna go up more. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but this is what we're gonna need this year, is $1,245,965. That's what our debt payment's gonna be. It's gonna go up approximately right at $5,000, so we're gonna need that. Of course, with that $100 million, if it does increase that much, that's just the preliminary values. It always, fluctuates from there. You don't know which way it's gonna go. We find out July 25th or when they have to have certified values to us. We'll be able to tell if we could maybe even go down just to help out with taxes to go down on the INS rate. It's gonna be one of those things that I'll work with the CAD to see what rate they suggest, and that's when I'll come back to you in the July board meeting or the August board meeting to kind of have an idea of what, where we need to go. The food service, right now, didn't change a whole lot. It changed a little bit here and there, but it stayed pretty much the same because we're looking to file a waiver to go with free meals again next year, just like we're doing this year. They offered it for another year, so we're looking to stay with it. It seems to be working really good. They're gonna actually up the reimbursement rate. So we should come out a little bit better than we are this year even. All right, next slide. Expenses. This is where we saw the increases. Payroll increased $50,568. Well, we all know we passed raises, and where did that money come from? I had COVID premium pay in there, so all I did is took the COVID premium pay and moved it to where it covered the raises. So that resignation and hiring of employees will also affect this. I don't have all the resignation and hiring in there yet. As soon as, say if we have a 2-year teacher resign and we hire a 20-year teacher, that's gonna be a $15,000 to $20,000 increase. Vice versa is the same way. If we have a 20-year teacher resign and we hire a 2-year teacher, it's a savings of that. Typically, they kind of cancel each other out, but it all depends. Contracted services increased $17,950 in this budget. This is the draft budget. This is the first draft. Remember that. And that's a lot of that is our online absence management system going into place. And the first year, Amber could probably speak on that a lot better than I could, but the first year is going to be an expensive year to get it set up and going. And so with that, and there's other things that went up, but that's just one of the big ticket items. I just mentioned some of the big ticket items on this. Supplies and materials increased by $70,563. In the past, our reading program was paid by outside sources, and so we put that into the budget this year so that PTO at the elementary could pay for other things and things like that. So that was one of the big ticket items. Supplies for cleaning. I left supplies and cleaning there because it's one of those things that I don't see us being able to go away from cleaning and things like that. So we're going to have to keep that in the same motion. And then other supplies for instructions went up in some areas. Other operating costs increased by $10,185. Anticipated property insurance increases. Talked to TASB. They kind of said, they're getting hit pretty hard, and that's usually going to come down to us. They did not say we were going to have an increase. I'll know that next month, but I'm anticipating that, so I put a little bit of an increase in there just in case, because property insurance, for the most part, seems to be going up, and I think we're going to see that too. Capital outlay decreased by $8,000. We had an increase in site licenses of $5,000, over $5,000. It's one of those things that, with the addition of Zach, he's kind of starting to. It's kind of getting these out to where we're trying to get them to where they're not all coming due at the same time. Put it like that. I guess that's the best way to say it. And so with that, some of those increased, and they were offset by a decrease in plant maintenance and operations. When I say that, I had $100,000 built in for plant maintenance and operations. I took a little bit off of that to kind of offset it, and so that we wouldn't be such a big hit in that area. All right, next slide. Just the breakdown of just some things, just a wrap up, just to go through this real quick. Revenue changes made from the last budget. Several new templates. It's been 2 new templates. There's going to be a third one coming out. Property value amounts were adjusted to reflect the updated preliminary values from the last revenue workshop. I was estimating, around the $40 to $50 million range, below their confidence interval last year, and so they had to bring it up. Otherwise, if you're out of your confidence interval 2 years in a row, you go with state rates, because what happens is you have to pay, the taxpayer has to pay the higher taxes, but you get state funding off the lower rate. So it's nobody wins. The taxpayer's still paying, but you're not receiving the funds from the state either. So that's why they want you to stay within that confidence interval. The confidence interval is 5% below, 5% above what the state feels like your property value should be. What the comptroller thought we should be, but we were still within that 9. The projected number of our specialized classes are being weighted on a different scale this year, but we have numbers. They sent it out today. And so I wasn't going to try to go through and change everything, and because they sent it out this afternoon about 2 o'clock. So it does look like with their guidance, what they put out right now, and this is just an estimate, they said this is actually, it wasn't TEA yet, it's TASBO out there, what their best guess is. And it looks like we'll gain a little bit, not much. My numbers were fairly close. So bond payments for debt service will increase approximately $5,000. Well, at 11% with $100 million, you're looking at $110,000. So you're going to get more than $5,000 in our bond payment we made it this year. So that is something that we'll take a look at after we get final certified values. Want to kind of see where our numbers really are going to end up. Preliminary certified are way 2 different things. Some years they're a lot lower, some years they're a lot higher. These general fund revenues have been calculated on a 0.9315 tax rate. Last year we were at 0.97, and so our 0.96 last year. And so this is showing that it's, even though your taxes are going to go up, we're going to lower the rate so that you won't see as much of an effect. And we're lowering the rate because we are required to. We have like I said, we have an MCR, maximum compressed rate, that we can charge, and that's what that is right now. Again, final taxes or final certified values are July 25th. Food service, like I said, we're doing the same thing next year, so that's going to be real similar. Federal program budgets are in the planning stages. They're starting to come out. The entitlements are starting to show up on TA's website. Miller and I will work together on those. And then the next workshop is July 12th. That's the next budget workshop when we work with updated numbers there. August 9th is the one after that, and that's when we'll be working on the tax rate discussion. And then on August 11th, we'll publish the budget. After the August 9th meeting, we'll publish it in the paper, whatever we decide is the best rate for us. Then on August 23rd, hopefully we'll be adopting those rates in the budget. Are there any questions? If not, I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will adjourn the special, or the budget workshop. Okay, so we'll go ahead and start now with our invocation. Ms. Donna Kruger.
Let us bow our heads. Loving and gracious God, you are indeed the giver of all good gifts, and we thank you today for all your blessings, for the successful outcomes of our school events, and for all our staff members, both the teaching and the support members. We ask that you bless them abundantly, and we continue to seek your wisdom, guidance, courage, and your strength. Be with us in our deliberations and help us to be wise in the decisions that we make for the good of all those who have placed their trust and confidence in our leadership. Give us insight to lead with integrity, that our decisions may reflect what is right and what is good. Help us to make decisions that are for the good of all. Dear Lord, grant us the humility to always seek your will in all that we do and say. All glory be to you, loving God, now and always, through Christ and the Holy Spirit, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And follow my pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay. I call this meeting of the Columbus Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and this notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. So we'll start with the first item, which is to swear in newly elected board members.
You will first read your statement, officer, please, and the sign.
Just read it.
When you finish, you will sign and return it to me. So right now, just raise your right hand. And repeat. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I
In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas, I
state your name.
state your name. I, Bo Shovel,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
Columbus ISD Board of Trustees
Columbus ISD Board of Trustees
of the state of Texas
of the state of Texas
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States and of this state,
of the United States and of this state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Let's sign your oath for me, please. Sign right there, sir. I can go ahead and
You good?
put that. You good? Thank you very much. God will stand with you. Your state officer, sign it for me. Your copy. And you'll raise your right hand for me, please. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas,
In the name and in the authority of the state of Texas,
I state your name,
I, Scott Orange,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office of Columbus ISD Board of Trustees
of the office of Columbus ISD Board of Trustees
of the state of Texas
of the state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States and of this state,
of the United States and this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I'll do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Okay, so it brings us to letter number 5, which is to elect board officers, and we're gonna go into closed session for this. So the board discussion will be held in an executive session under Government Code, section 551.074. Okay, at this time, we will accept nominations for the president of the Board of Trustees.
Nominate Bo Shovel for
Okay,
I'll second.
okay, on seconds, all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay. And then at this time now, we'll do vice president.
I nominate Scott Orange for vice president.
I'll second that. All in favor of Scott, raise your right hand. Okay. And this time we'll do secretary, and I'd like to nominate Dorothy Wallstrick as secretary.
Second that.
June seconds, all in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, there we go. That's, we're gonna stay the same. Okay, so that one's off. That brings us to number 6, open forum. Do we have any public participation today?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. Okay, communications and reports. Financial reports. Anything on that? Number 7?
Yeah, if there's anything that
Anything still from the budget workshop or anything like that? Okay, and then the, moving to number 8, which is the consent agenda. I guess the only thing that the expenditure of over 25,000 was the, you said, the kid and
it was based.
Bays, that's the Bays kid. And, other than that, does anybody have any questions on consent agenda? If no questions on consent agenda, we'll need a motion to accept.
I'll move we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Scott moves.
Second.
Robert seconds. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Consent agenda passes. Regular business action items, number 9. Consideration and possible action to delegate authority to the superintendent to negotiate and execute a contract with Huckabee and Associates to perform a feasibility study and assessment of electrical and plumbing systems at Columbus High School, Columbus Junior High, restrooms and locker rooms, and Columbus Elementary. Mr. Leopold.
I think we're all kind of aware what this is about. This is, we moved from our first choice to our second choice, which was Huckabee, and been in negotiation with them for quite some time. And we're right, and Mr. Connor knows as much about this as I do, we're right at the cusp of getting a contract ready, but it just wasn't ready in time before the board meeting. And so, we're asking for you to give Mr. Connor the rights to finish up the contract. If there's any contract, questions to ask us, we can pretty much fill in any of those questions that you would like. Mr. Connor, you want to add anything?
Yeah, so I sent the total in board notes, that we won't exceed that, and that's what we agreed to, which is I think $32,000. But they're just going through the legal parts to make sure all our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted, but they couldn't get it 72 hours before we had this meeting. So they said, well, you can either call a special board meeting, or you have the option of giving me the authority to approve it. And if we do that, then we don't have to call a special board meeting. The contract is, the attorney has it right now, so it may be ready in 2 days. But
Just to move things on real quick.
yeah.
Any questions on that? If not, we'll need a motion.
I'll move we approve superintendent to finalize and negotiate or execute the contract with Huckabee and Associates.
Scott moves.
A second.
Michelle seconds. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. That passes, carries. Motion carries.
How quickly do we want to start after this is executed?
Very fast. So Kenny has all the plans and gave them, they came by today, so we gave the plans.
So,
So it was like, before then.
Already done?
Yeah. We're hoping to be done.
That's all right.
In August, that's, so, it's a presentation in August, so.
Good deal. Anybody else? All right. Letter B, discussion and possible action regarding the approval of limiting the number of foreign exchange students that can enroll annually. Mr. Beard.
Good evening. Per the Texas Education Code 25.001, school districts, upon school board approval, can request a waiver to limit the number of foreign exchange students to less than 5 if one of 3 scenarios exist. 1, creates a financial or staffing hardship for the district. 2, diminishes the district's ability to provide high-quality educational services for the district's domestic students. Or 3, requires domestic students to compete with foreign exchange students for educational resources. District administration right now believes that permitting more than 3 foreign exchange students, or 3% of a class, could possibly diminish the district's ability to provide high-quality educational services to its domestic students currently residing in Columbus ISD. What we're doing is this is just a proactive waiver in case it ever came about. We feel like this would be in the best interest of our students and our staff. We definitely want foreign exchange students in our district if that was to arise. However, we want to make sure that we were able to control that number so it wouldn't negatively impact our domestic students.
How often do we have foreign exchange students that come?
So, in talking with staff members, it varies from year to year. We've had a spike. We've had several. More than 5, and we've had some. Like last year, we didn't have any. So it varies from year to year. But we do have that option to do this waiver.
So you're saying in the whole district?
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
They're just in high school.
But yeah, mostly it's high school.
So what happens is that you, in previous years, if you didn't have a cap on it, on the number, that you could have these kids who would then actually come and test and count against us, testing. So if they were in a class that was a junior class, or if they were a sophomore kid, they would take, if you had them in English 2, they would take the English 2 test. Well, and then they leave, right? They're going to be gone after a year. So it could impact us accountability-wise. But it also increases, so it increases the number of kids in a classroom too. Most large districts have the limit of 5. I shared our actual resolution comes from Alvin, which limits to 5 kids. Now, Alvin has 2,000 kids in their high school. And in both high schools, they have 4,000 kids, and they limit it to 5. Well, we have 400 kids, and 3 out of a class of 100 makes it 3%. Whereas Alvin says 5 in a class of, 4,000 is 0.08%, I think, if my math is right, and it is. So the number we have is still higher than anybody else around, but in a small district, a large impact, like we had, I believe we had 8 3 years ago, which it was at the time about 7% of our population, which is.
We had around 10 or more when I had mine, John from Germany.
So when you look at that number, it makes a big impact. And what we're saying is we want the kids to come, we want them to have the Columbus experience. We just want to make sure that we can control the amount of kids that come in.
So then do you turn those kids away? So let's say you're maxed out.
Well, that's what everybody does, right? So like what happens is, like if Katie has, I don't know what, I'm sure Katie limits. If Katie has a limit of, let's say 5, well, those kids will then look at Sealy but they'll go through. And if Katie's limiting and we don't limit, then all of a sudden, by law, we bring them all, everybody comes here, all of a sudden we have 20. Because if we've had 10 before, that's pretty high.
There was a lot that year.
So,
It's because there was, and Lindsay even did it too. They were, like, you get paid to find host families. for it.
right.
And so they were, finding host families and getting the cash on the side.
That's one of the things that has come out of this is that it's a cottage industry. People are able to place people, but they're making money placing people. So they know that the law says you've got to accept the students. So if you don't limit it, it's going to be open floodgates.
Does anyone else in our district have a limit?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody else does. I know that everywhere I have been, it has been a limit, and everybody around us. I know Katie has a limit. I don't know if Sealy does, but we've limited and burned it to 3, and we had 200 in the class. So.
And that's per class. Per school, per
school,
district.
Per district, right. So we had 3, but that was 3 for the high school. Because they generally don't take kids under, and you really don't want someone in a tested area. So we limited it to 3 in high school, and that was, our graduating class was 225. So our graduating class this year was 117. I think next year is different.
Any concerns, comments, questions? If not, we'll need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the limiting of the number of foreign exchange students that can enroll annually.
Robert, Scott seconds, all in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Which brings us to number 10, closed session. So, this board will now adjourn the closed session as authorized by the Texas Open Meeting Act, Government Code Section 551-001.